Hello, everyone. I'm just telling everybody on Facebook to come join us. And then we'll get started. So just bear with me while I get that going. And then we will talk about some reactivity. So, okay, people are coming in. Say hi. Tell me you can see and hear me as I keep sharing over on Facebook that we are over here now. Okay, so if you're here, hi, awesome, thank you, Aaliyah, and we will get started in just a second. I am trying to share. So that everybody knows that we have moved. Facebook was just not going to cooperate this evening, which is fine. Okay. All right. So if you're on Facebook, you can share this YouTube link and let everybody know that we are over here now. We are going to talk about some reactivity stories this evening. A couple of housekeeping things is that, which I already said, and you all probably heard me on the other feed, but these chats are free. If they are helpful to you, you can donate. There's a donation link over in the original post, and I think Cami will get in here and share the donation link in a minute, and if not, I'll put it in the comments. We are awesome. Everybody's coming in saying this is much better. I probably should just start doing them here because it is a better streaming service than Facebook by far. So, okay, tonight we're going to talk about reactivity. Let's get to the point because it is now 15 minutes in to Wednesday night chat time. Thank you for joining me. I am here. I'm traveling. You might notice I have some lovely fish tanks, different background. I should get some fish tanks. They're nice. I'm at my sister's house coming at you from Denver because my dogs and I are traveling. And part of the reason I wanted to hop on and talk about this is because we're traveling. So I'm seeing a lot of, I'm just seeing a lot of reactive dogs because newsflash, they're everywhere, right? If you work in the training industry at all, it's probably the number one thing that you work on. I can see you. Don't worry about it. You don't know where Rhea is? The trouble fox is getting into trouble. Shock of shocks. I just found her in the bathtub a second ago. We're crawling around on the floor looking for Rhea. Very fun. So there are reactive dogs everywhere. And in fact, if I actually did the math, did the non-reactive dogs than reactive dogs when I'm out in public, when I'm traveling, when I'm in the world. And if you're a dog trainer, drop me a comment and tell me if you agree with that, if you feel like you're seeing more reactivity than not, which seems to be not normal, right? Seems to be not a normal way for a dog to move about in the world, and yet it is the norm so much of the time. So as I'm traveling, the first kind of dogs I encountered where I have this, well, not the first, but the most notable kind of first thing I encountered in my travels was I have this hiking trail that I do when I'm driving from Washington to Colorado. It's in very, very rural Wyoming. And every single time I have gone there, if I have encountered people and their dogs, the dogs were off leash and socially appropriate. Every single time. And I've been stopping at this hiking trail for years, like 5 years. And it is a leash park, technically. It says leash law enforced in big letters at the entrance. But the locals who are there are not leashing dogs, and none of their dogs have a problem. I've seen everything from, I saw a cowboy with his geriatric border collie who was lovely, who corrected Felix for being a little bit too pushy with her beautifully appropriately. He listened, everything was fine. She and Iggy kind of looked at each other and were like two queens just passing on, neutral land. And this last time I was there, I saw a golden retriever and a Yorkie. And it was interesting because the golden retriever was there with clearly a local woman who was walking, and she just kind of called to me like, "Are we okay?" And I said, everybody's okay. And then we both kind of gave our dogs permission to say hi. Everybody said hi. Everybody was extremely socially appropriate. It was like, "Hi, nice to meet you. How are you? It's lovely weather." Yes. And then moving on with our lives. There was no over the top behavior of any kind. It was beautiful. And then the Yorkie was with someone who got out of a car with out of state plates. Not a local person. It was a little Yorkie on a flexi. And I could tell from far away. So this is to date. This is the only reactive dog I've encountered at that trail. And again, it was out of state plates. It was not a local. And the dog was on a leash. And she saw my 3 dogs coming, and I could just see her tense up. And I'm laughing at a comment from my sister. Hey, did you guys find Rhea? Okay. Just checking. So I could see her tense up and try to reel in the flexi and lock it. And I could see the Yorkie kind of being like, "I don't think that's normal." Because 3 big dogs walking towards you is hard when you're tiny. And so what happened then was I immediately called my dogs, put them on leashes, and passed by the Yorkie. And one of the skills that I teach my dogs that Rhea is still learning is an on-by cue, which means whatever that is, we're not investigating it, you are to pass it. And Rhea's still learning it. She did really well. And, this Yorkie was pretty puffed up, but I could tell that as soon as I leashed my dogs and kind of moved over, the lady relaxed a little bit. And, the Yorkie was making a little bit of noise, but it was not a big deal. My dogs were able to pass. But what was fascinating about the difference between these interactions, which is kind of the primary thing I want to talk about tonight, is that the woman with the golden retriever had no concerns about this situation. And neither did her dog. She called out to make sure it was safe, which was really responsible and not something that I usually encounter on that trail. Usually people just kind of assume everybody's fine on that trail, and they're kind of right to do so. My experience on that trail has been that everybody is fine. Variety of breeds, variety of type of people. All the dogs are off leash and all the dogs are fine, except for your occasional out-of-towner with their Yorkie on a flexi. So what's interesting? What's different? Well, the leash is different, right? So we have 1 dog on leash, 1 dog not on leash. To date, when I get a client inquiry, like somebody asking for help, if they say the dog is reactive, so if they use that label, and trainers, again, I want to hear from you on this. To date, that does mean that there is a barrier involved, usually a leash. So when they say the dog is reactive, it usually means barking and lunging on leash. People don't often use the term aggression when referring to their own dogs, but they use it more readily if the dog charges at things when not on leash, interestingly enough, right? So if the dog is free to move about and charges at something, barking and lunging isn't really happening because they're not on a leash to therefore lunge, but maybe barking, snarling, snapping at something, or charge barking something. Most people use a little bit different language to describe that. They might say my dog is fearful. They might say my dog barks at. They might say reactive, and they're more likely to say aggressive. And what's interesting about that is that, so people are viewing these behavior patterns different, and I view them a little bit differently as well, even though my route to fixing them might look similar. So let's get back to some of the dogs that I saw on my travels, because if the very lightly trafficked state park in Wyoming is the non-reactive capital of the cities that I travel through, where I'm seeing a huge amount of reactivity is going to be hotels. And then if I happen to be in residential areas, then in residential areas. Let's see, we've got a comment from Allison Brown. I was told by someone, not a trainer, that my puppy's slightly leash reactive. She's not reactive off leash and is very social. Yeah, Allison, so we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about what's normal and what's not, and what we maybe shouldn't label reactive right away. So in hotels, dogs are barky, lungier than a lot of other places. And I'm going to blame that on the environment. I'm also going to blame it on the people's big problems with the barking, right? So when you're in a hotel with your dog, you know that's kind of a privilege to be there. Like, hotels that allow dogs are great, but there are rules, and it's not hard to irritate people. It's not hard to get in trouble in hotels with your dog. So we all kind of, the dog owners that I know that it's a privilege, and know that dogs aren't allowed in hotels everywhere. And so if we have that privilege, we should not take advantage of it. We should, this is how I feel anyway, we should be very good guests. Like, my dogs should not leave the room exceptionally dirty. My dog should not be loud. My dog should not be disruptive in a hotel. And it's really important to me. And I think that that's true for everybody who's in the hotel, pretty much. And so the people are like a little on edge about their dog's behavior just right out the gate. And now we also have tight spaces and tight leashes, save for the occasional. I really don't mean to pick on flexies, because I think there's a time and a place for them, but your Maltese rounding the corner and heading down the hallway towards my dog's on the flexi and I don't even see you is not an appropriate place for your flexi. And so usually it's tight leashes, uptight people, small spaces, really unnatural environment. And so I see a lot of reactive dogs in that situation. And what do I mean by that? I mean, they're easily startled and quick to bark lunge at me or my dogs as we're kind of passing through that space. So in hotels on this trip, I didn't see any dogs that were social, appropriate, normal, at ease in that environment. I saw all dogs that were. I'm looking at Rhea because she's squeaking. Okay, looks like we reconnected. Tell me that I'm here, because it just told me that my connection was unstable. Okay. So in hotels, it's a problem. What else is really unique about this trip is that I'm staying most of the time at a state park with where my parents live. So I'm in a state park where there's a lot of campers. staying there with their dogs. And so I need to walk my dogs kind of amongst the campers to get to a trail to walk them around. And it's really nice and it's fine. But the dogs in the campground are also pretty barky lungy, pretty upset about a dog walking past what is kind of their property, right? And all of this is to say that when we put dogs in certain situations, they react to certain stimuli. And it's time for us to recognize that that is actually normal. So reacting to certain things is normal. And when we overreact at their overreaction, if we think it's an overreaction, we make it worse. So perfect example would be, there was a particular camper that I had no choice but to walk past a few times a day while they were there. And luckily they weren't there very long. I had a couple of German Shepherds, an adult and a young Shepherd. And like most German Shepherds, if I walked past their property, and I was pretty far from it, but they had good sight lines, they could see me, they wanted to bark about it. And the people's response was to yell at them. At one point, the puppy was put on a choke chain and a leash and kind of jerked around for it. And the dogs did not get better, right? So the choke chain and the leash did not improve matters. The older dog wasn't as bad as the puppy, but they were both reactive to my dogs walking past. I'm going to say that their behavior was normal, breed typical, and that the people putting more drama on the situation was making the situation worse. So recognizing, I think one of my major points I'm trying to get at here is knowing what is normal and then knowing how to respond to what is normal so that you don't make it a problem is a really big preventative tool. So let's talk about my 7-month-old puppy, Rhea. She's an Icelandic sheepdog. If you know anything about Icelandic sheepdogs, like the only thing people know about Icelandic sheepdogs is that they bark, right? So everybody is like, how are you dealing with the barking? Is the barking okay? How much does she bark? And the answer is that I am dealing with the barking okay because it isn't actually excessive to me. And I see her as being a dog who processes things in her environment, particularly novelty or excitement, through vocalizing. Now, if every time Rhea barks at another dog, I panic and get in there and correct her or try to shove food in her face or redirect her, which is kind of what more the people in my circle would probably do, is put food on the face, turn the dog around with the cookie, shove food in. If I try to do that, I'm actually just putting more drama on the situation. So the route that I have taken with Rhea to prevent this leash reactivity, which is if the breed is going to have a behavior problem, and this is, I'm fairly new to the breed, but this is what I have observed, and this is what some people who are not new to the breed have confirmed for me. If they're going to have a behavior problem, it's barking, lunging at other dogs, usually coming from a friendly place, and maybe separation anxiety. Those are kind of your two top ones. Separation anxiety, I fully see where that could have happened with her. She has your Ugg boots, Megan, by the way. She usually doesn't ruin them. Just saying. So the separation anxiety, I have taken every preventative measure that I know how to take, which we're not even sure if that's real, if that's a possibility or not, but she's doing well so far. But I very much understand how that could have been a thing for her. The leash reactivity, oh man, I see how that could have been a thing for her. Hugely could have seen how that could have been a thing, because she sees another dog, gets excited because she likes them, and then what does she do when she's excited? She barks. And so then that can quickly turn into, I'm barking at another dog, I'm restrained by a leash, therefore I start lunging. Hey, Megan, are you on this? Let's see. Never mind. I think I can do it. I'm needing to, sorry everybody, first time on YouTube and someone is in here posting spam, so I need to remove. Oh, it keeps happening.
Somebody's spamming it?
Yeah, hang on everybody, this is just so fun. Here's what I need. Cami, if you are here, oh, here we go. Okay. No, I can't block them. All I can do is report them, which I'm doing. But Cami, I just made you a moderator. So thank you. I'm glad you're here. So I need you to get rid of them. You're a moderator now. Please get rid of them. This is so fun. Okay. Back to reality. This is actually why I turned off comments on my YouTube videos. Thank you, Cami, because I just got a lot of rude things. Not necessarily spam, but like just nasty things said to me. So I turned them all off, but you can't on these. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. That was fun. Note to self, these are not going to be public in the future. I'll just give you all the password. Okay. Back to what I was saying. Leslie Jane, I also made you an admin, so you can do it too. Okay, so here we are. Get rid of that guy. So she wants to bark, gets excited, therefore barks. Needs to be communicated with me, from me, so that she knows what is expected of her, but also what's going to get her the right to see that other dog. So there's a few things that I've done. Number one is that it is very rare for her to meet another dog on leash. Okay? So she is supposed to meet the dog. Right? So if I am meeting a dog intentionally, that I want to, I have to end this, you guys. There's just too much. Oh, no, Cami's on it. Okay. I'm going to try to not watch it because it's absolutely distracting me. Thanks for everybody that's hanging out. Yeah, we have more happening, but Cami's on it. So if she is intended to meet the other dog, I gain a nice self-regulation behavior from her, like a down. I unclip her leash and I cue her to go say hi. I do not restrain her on the way there. She's never going to drag me to another dog to say hi. And if she's ever pulling, barking, whatever, she never gets to say hi that way. But that's a really, really rare situation because you're not going to learn anything from that. I just don't want her to learn that pulling and barking does get her there, right? So what I think is really important here is that we get upset about the behavior. We get upset about the behavior. I'm moving it so I can't see it. We get upset about the behavior, drama on it. We intervene. We try to fix it right then and there. It doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, we get more frustrated, we try to do more things, and what we're not understanding is how natural and normal these behaviors are and how we kind of need to just arrange our antecedents when these dogs are young so that they're not happening. And when they do happen, just sort of run interference. Like today, Rhea wanted to bark at some people walking on a trail because she was in an X pen, and I just stood in front of her. And she kind of tried to look around me, and I just moved again. And then when she looked at me, I praised her and told her she was so good. And then she actually offered me a down, and then I gave her a scatter. And these are skills that she has learned, and that she has learned how to give me in those moments when she's frustrated. So what could the people with the German Shepherds be doing differently? Well, they could be acknowledging that there's something for their dog to bark at, thanking their dog for barking, and then giving their dog another thing to do, giving their dog another activity. With their young puppy, shouldn't be in that situation, period. That young puppy shouldn't be in a situation where he is barking and lunging and getting frustrated about the other dogs on leash. He should be in other situations where he is given the opportunity to approach and say hello when he is appropriate, and then letting him off leash. He should be having a lot of off leash interactions with other dogs. He should not be in a really, really unfair situation, which is we are now camping, which means our property suddenly shrank and is suddenly in a fishbowl, and there's all these things swimming around it. That's not fair to that young dog. So we put them in unfair situations. It's the first thing we do. And then the second thing we do is we panic about their normal, natural behaviors and try to fix them in the moment. And these are the problems. That's what's happening to the hotel dogs. The people are putting them in an unfair situation, and then they're panicking and trying to intervene, and it's creating a problem for them. And so go back to the off-leash dogs in Wyoming and understand that none of those people are panicking. All of those dogs were once young puppies, but they didn't have to be restrained and restricted around other dogs as young dogs, because they were always out kind of in the great wide open. And so what I'm going to do, everybody, because I know that even though I've moved it, the comment section is out of control. My bad, is I'm going to end this stream, and then I'm going to move back over to Facebook, and I'm going to start a thread over there on my business page. You guys can comment there, and I will answer your questions there. So live and learn. I'm moving on, and I'm going to end this stream. Thank you all for coming, and I'm going to answer your questions over on the Cognitive Canines Facebook page.